Hello and welcome to the Gunner Talk, back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series. And I'm back, the voice is back. It's finally, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling better. Thank God, because if you watched the Raw Reaction show yesterday, my God did I struggle through that. I mean, it got to the point 15 minutes in where I was like, nah, I'm going to have to cut this because I can't speak. But you'll be glad to know that I am back. The voice is back and it's feeling much, much better, and so am I. And thank you ever so much for all the kind words in the comment sections, wishing me well. I did read every single one of them and they'd make me feel momentarily better. Obviously, they can only do so much. They can't cure me, but they can make me feel a darn sight better, and I definitely appreciate every single one of them. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Please make sure you drop a like on the video and a subscription to the channel if you're enjoying the content. We are here to give you an analytical and statistical look at the players that are linked to Arsenal and get some expert insight into who and what they are. And today is no different as we talk about the one and only Thomas Partey. I mean, this guy is certainly on the lips of plenty of Arsenal fans who are desperate to see the Ghanaian international become a feature in the Arsenal midfield. It's a midfield position we desperately need strength in depth, and not only strength in depth, but strength in general. And Partey is certainly someone that can add that to the Arsenal team. Now, we like to start off the show with our expert insight. Now, we've got a guy from La Liga, so I mean, long-time listeners of the show know exactly what's about to happen if you've not seen the thumbnail already. Mr. John Driscoll returns once again, host of La Liga Weekly, with ex-professional footballer Terry Gibson. He is back, John is back to give us his side of the story and his insight into what he thinks about Thomas Partey. So, John, do the business, mate.
So Thomas Partey, you said. Well, I love him. I think he's absolutely magnificent player. The obvious thing is to look at his physique. Big, strong, well-built man. Fit, covers a lot of ground. So all of those Atletico Madrid qualities that you would expect from a Simeone player. But he's good as well. He's clever, takes up good positions, reasonably talented, uses the ball well. Not an Eden Hazard kind of dribbler, not Lionel Messi kind of dribbler, but rock solid, but not just a purely defensive midfielder. I think it's a mistake to regard him as just a defensive midfielder, because he's got more to his game than that. You could, if you had a very, very, very attacking front set of your team, play him in as one of those two midfield pivot roles, or that's the one. But I think that's a waste of him, because I think he's better than that. I think he's got more to offer than that. Could he make the transition to the Premier League? Easily. I mean, you saw him against Liverpool. You may have seen him against Liverpool the other day. Very, very strong indeed. Liverpool would want him. I'm certain that he would be brilliant in their midfield, because they like that pace, they like that strength and stuff in their midfield. So I would imagine that there isn't a team that wouldn't want Thomas Partey. It's as simple as that. So therefore, you're moving on to... So if he's available on 50 million quid, then yes, snap him up, take their hands off, get him in tomorrow, pay the money, pay him whatever wages he wants, if you're going to get him for 50 million quid. Therefore, the cynic in me is saying, isn't it a coincidence that every time a Spanish-based player wants a new contract, he suddenly gets linked with Premier League clubs, because they know that the Premier League clubs have got the money to pay the wages? And so I've seen Partey being linked with Arsenal and with Manchester United. He's got, for Arsenal to have a chance of signing him, I think you've got to be in the Premier League. Sorry, in the Champions League, obviously. He's too good. Atleti might miss out this season, which might just be a tiny chink in the armour. That might be the one time that you can get him, because Atleti normally qualify for the Champions League, but they're struggling this year because they're a little bit dull and they can't break down weaker teams, and that's been costly for them. But he's come through the ranks there. I mean, it's a fascinating story, Thomas Partey. It's worth looking up, because he was a young kid in Ghana and he came to Europe. And the moment that he left, he didn't tell his parents that he'd gone. He went with an agent. I think they knew that it was a prospect of it happening. But so he left without his parents as a young kid and came to Europe. It's not to be recommended. It seems a rather reckless thing to do, but it has shown the strength of character that going through that route, he's made it to become, in my view, one of the best midfielders in the world. In that position, proper midfielder who does all the aspects of a midfield job. So, if Arsenal can steal Thomas Partey for 50 million quid, it will be the deal of the century, and you've got to get it done straight away. Don't build your hopes up.
Huge thank you to John. You can go check him out on Twitter at Driscoll FC and at La Liga _weekly as well. So, yeah, I mean, he pretty much sums up my feelings on him, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end. I can't, in a million years, see this actually going through. The reason we're doing this video is because we have recently been basically informed that there are discussions that Arsenal have registered their interest in Thomas Partey. He was supposedly, according to The Athletic, desperate to join us last summer, but we just simply didn't have the funds after spending over £100 million on Pepe and David Luiz and Tierney, and obviously William Saliba as well. And so this summer is when we've had to wait to actually spend the money, and it might be a summer too late, unfortunately, because he is in discussions for a new deal. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to statistically break Thomas Partey down and get some of the inside info in that area. So let's look at our trusty heat map. As you can see on the screen there, he's a centre midfielder of immense quality and talent and running. And you can see from the intensity and how concentrated that he is in the middle of the field. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He's not favouring the right or the left side. Well, actually, when you look at it, your initial reaction to say he's not favouring either. But he seems defensively to favour the left-hand side, but offensively to favour the right-hand side. Do you see that? I see that. And that's slightly strange, isn't it? He seems to go across field when he's attacking more onto the right-hand side because of his right foot, and actually defensively seeming to favour the left-hand side. That's really, really interesting. And maybe when I'm watching him play in the second leg against Liverpool, I will look out for those movements, because it's weird how he sort of alternates offensively and defensively the way in which he moves. Moving on to the defensive stats then. 7.29 duels per game with a 61% success rate. For a centre midfielder, that is awesome. Aerial duels, 2.92 per game, 65.9%. Again, awesome. Sliding tackles, 0.58. He's not great. 44.4%. I mean, he's better than me, slide tackles, but we've seen plenty of slide tackling a lot higher than that. It's not part of his game, but that's good. I like the fact he prefers to stay on his feet because he knows it's not his strength to go down to the ground. 4.88 interceptions is very good, playing for an Atletico side that often dominate possession in La Liga. Losses and own half, 7.99 losses. 39% of them in his own half. That's quite high, actually. 7.99 being, I mean, I was about to say near 8. You couldn't get any nearer 8 for these statistics. Recoveries is 10.82. Now, typically, we'd quite like to see those recoveries a little bit higher in relation to that amount of losses. The ratio isn't massively skewed. But 36.2% of those happen in the opposition half is quite nice for someone who's usually in his own half, more of a box-to-box midfielder than a defensive minded one. As John talked about, he can do it all. He does everything. He's up and down the pitch all day long. 0.22 block shots, 1.35 clearances, which is very strong for a centre midfielder. 1.41 fouls, leading to 0.39 yellow cards per game. Discipline is certainly something that maybe he needs to work on. Getting a yellow card nearly once every 2 games. But it's not really that surprising. Passing stats, 86% success rate from 53 passes is a little low. Atletico have struggled this season with their passing for sure. Maybe that would increase were he to move to the Premier League with Arsenal. Long passes 6.1 to 67.4% accuracy is nice. I like that a lot. Very good strong accuracy for those long passes. Through passes, 42.4% accuracy at 1.89. That is nice. That is very, very nice for a through pass, which is usually quite a risky ball, low to the ground. Like that a lot. Crosses, not really seeing too many of those because you're playing in a central area, which leads to assists being quite low. XA and second assists also. Passing to the final third is 10 per game. That is a lot with a 77.4% success rate. That is decent, but I'd like to see that creep into the 80s to be a top midfielder. But being in the higher 70s is very, very strong. Passes to the box, 1.96 with a 52% accuracy. Very good as well. Like that. Very, very risky passes. So the over 50% record is not contentious whatsoever. It is good. It is solid. 36 received passes. We've seen a lot of centre-backs that receive a hell of a lot more passes than that. He's not looked upon as the creative force. He's looked upon as the destroyer with additional attributes to his game, which we've talked about already, but very nice that he's receiving the ball a decent amount, but not looked upon as the main creative force in that athletic midfield. Forward passes to backward passes is extremely strong. I like this a lot. Nearly 20 passes to 5. Every backward pass, there is at least 4 forward ones. That is certainly from a centre midfield point of view. We like to see 98% backward passes is very, very good. 77.2 to forward passes is a little bit low. We'd like to see those in the 80s really, but still very decent. Attacking stats, looking into those, what he's doing forwards. Shots, he scored 3 goals this season, and the shots are coming mainly from outside the area, which it surprises me a little, considering how many of the aerial duels he wins defensively, that he's not getting involved in the box enough, but he does like to take shots from outside the box. Not always too consistent, as you can see, quite a few of them being misses. Certainly something he needs to work on if he wants to take more of them, but he's only taking just over 1 shot per game. XG is therefore quite low. Dribbles, 2.25 dribbles in each game for 61% success rate. He loves driving forwards, this guy. Loves taking people on and pushing his team up the field into an offensive duels of 5.42 with a 51% success rate. Very, very nice. Progressive runs, I'd expect to see maybe a little bit higher for someone who likes to get into the opposition half at 0.83, but it's nothing to really scoff at. And fouls suffered, 0.8 fouls suffered in each game. You're not fouling this guy. You're just not. He's huge. He's a man mountain. He's brilliant, and I love him, and that rounds off the statistics as well. Please let me know what you think of Thomas Partey, whether you think this is actually a possible transfer. The reason we're doing this video is because it has been linked today in the media that Arsenal could be going for Thomas Partey this summer. Very interesting player, very, very nice statistical record for sure, and some very, very positive things said about him by our good expert John Driscoll. But the summary is in whole that it's probably not a very likely destination that he ends up at Arsenal, and in fact could be, as John says, used as a ploy for him to sign for more money at Atleti. Already they have a history of signing players on a lot of money, Griezmann, etc. And I can't see Partey being too different. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Please make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you'd like to become a member and get access to exclusive content, it's nearly March, which means some new content is coming for our members very, very soon. Very excited about that. And I can't wait to show them what we've got in store. We will see you again very, very soon. And as always, actually, we'll see you again very, very soon tonight because we've got a podcast. So make sure you tune in for the podcast. We've got Drew and Tomo on tonight, 8:30 live. If you're watching this on playback and you've missed it, I mean, where have you been? Turn those notifications on. You'll get told when those podcasts drop and you can join us in the live chats. If not, though, make sure you catch up on it. It was covering all the stuff from the weekend. We'll see you very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.